guys, regarding what's next as far as the alliance is concerned with these operations that are already in progress in order to dismantle the entire criminal network and infrastructure in the entire southern hemisphere, including Mexico, and of course, Canada. Canada is also on the list for those that did not know. So, yeah, we're going to go pretty deep today. Before I get started, though, I do want to acknowledge and welcome each and every single one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here and for being part of this wonderful tribe of awakening souls that are just thriving and not, drinking the Kool-Aid. So thank you guys so much for not doing that and for staying awake and for questioning and for just daring to dive deep into the rabbit hole. I also wanted to extend gratitude to my moderators. Thank you guys so much for being here. And then for those that want to get rid of that graphene, spike proteins, or know of someone who were forced to get the jab or do, make sure you guys get them Folium. Folium is not only designed to eliminate the graphene, the nanoparticulates, all the metals that are coming from the spraying of the skies from the foods that we eat, but it also takes away or eliminates the radiation, the harmful frequencies that are coming from ELF waves, from RF frequencies, cell phone towers, you name it, Wi-Fi, etc., etc. It allows the natural healing process of the body to take effect. The link is always in the description. And of course, I always pin it in the comments at the end of the presentation. Now, two more quick reminders, guys, before I dive into the juicy topic. The first one is that my classes are up for grab again. I think I only have 15 spots left in our Cosmic Origin, and that starts next Saturday or Sunday. No, not next Saturday. I'm sorry. 2 weekends from now. 2 weekends from now, there is a new set of courses that are going to begin. They are filling up pretty quick. Make sure you guys go to my website, our cosmicorigin.com, so I could see you on a live webinar in the next coming 2 weekends, either Saturday or Sunday for just 2 consecutive weekends. 2 hours each. That's all I required of your time. You guys will be mind blown. 3 different ascension courses for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. And then, of course, our Cosmic Origin, breaking down the entire cosmic infrastructure. And one last thing. I will be presenting at the Conscious Life Expo this coming February the 21st on a Saturday in the Rabbit Hole Room. I love that they always put me in the rabbit hole room. I guess I do take people deep down the rabbit hole. But in either case, for those that won't be able to make it, I was approved to offer a streaming through my website. And, make sure you guys get your streaming now, because I think Zoom only allows for about 100 people. So it's first come, first serve. Go to my website so you guys can access the streaming. I'm going to break down new cosmic intel regarding the activation of superhuman abilities. Okay, it's going to be mind-bending. This is a course, a presentation that I've never introduced or that I have never shared before. I've been working on this for months, and you guys are going to love it. Go to my website to at least access the stream. My website is ourcosmicorigin.com. All right, with no further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So, this is from a classified intelligence briefing. Subject: the Arctic Power Realignment and Greenland Control Vector. Currency, date currency or current, prepared by Strategic Assessment Cell. Executive summary has indicated that the entry of Marco Rubio into direct negotiations with the Danish government and Greenlandic authorities is representing the presidential level execution, not exploratory, but diplomatically, okay? This action is aligning with the activation phase of President Trump's Arctic Command Doctrine, which is designed to secure the U.S. dominance over the Northern Strategic Corridor, which is going to lead to the North American superstate, the Jabucas Federation, for those that watched my last presentation. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that Greenland is now being operationally treated as a de facto extension of U.S. military and sovereign power. So according to this situational overview, Greenland has transitioned from peripheral territory to strategic keystone in the emerging Arctic theater. So that means that control of Greenland equates the control of the northern gateway to the Western Hemisphere. And it has been brought to my attention by Commander Valiant Thor that there is an entry there, a portal that is still active that leads to the inner Earth. And of course, it does need to be in the hands of the Alliance. Okay. So the assessment, according to this briefing, is that Greenland is in the process of strategic alignment with US command architecture. Well, apparently, guys, there was a legal authority going back to 1951, which was a treaty that was signed. And according to this treaty, the United States maintained standing authority under the 1951 Greenland Defense Agreement, which remains legally binding and unrepealed. The agreement authorizes the unrestricted U.S. military operations on Greenland. It also authorizes permanent basing for U.S. forces and expansion rights. And it's also authorizing a dual use military civilian infrastructure development. And not to mention, it also authorizes for sovereign defense prerogatives independent of UN oversight. And as mentioned in my last presentation, Donald Trump just pulled the US out of the UN about 5 days ago. So the United States is already possesses or is in process of possessing the legal dominance of Greenland. And according to the current action status right now, it is believed that they did a threat assessment, and it turns out that the Arctic First Military Doctrine is going to be installed by U.S. military. Nuclear submarine deployments are positioning right now as I speak for rapid polar transit. And there's also some sort of an extensive northern military basin that is extending into the Arctic Ocean. And I'm starting to think, and I think I'll probably speak about this in the next report, there's some sort of allegiance or alliance taking place between the inner Earth civilizations of Agartha and the Earth Alliance. All right, well, think about it. There is a portal there, okay? So it's going to be safely guarded within the hands of the Alliance. Now, it is also believed that right now the only possible threat to the takeover of Greenland by U.S. military forces is I would have to say, the European Union. And this is the reason why right now the alliance is working to end the war with Ukraine in favor of Russia by March, which is in 2 months. I think sometime late March. It's already in progress. This will actually weaken the European Union, okay? And it'll also paralyze the operational forces due to environmental treaties of NATO, which is a good thing, which is going to protect a unified Arctic defense against, of course, the European Union and the expansion, preventing the expansion of NATO, in other words. So the assessment right now is that the Arctic represents a reversed Cuban Missile Crisis dynamic, which means that this time the U.S. is going forward, positioning, neutralizing every adversary leverage, including from CCP China, before anything, before they begin to, before it leads to an escalation. That's the best way to describe it. So certain key installations are already in place, like the P2FIC space base. The P2FIC space base is the central node of the U.S. Arctic power projection, and its capabilities will include hypersonic missile detection and tracking. And again, a lot of this is going to tie into the North American Golden Dome, as soon as, of course, the criminal networks are fully purged. This also includes orbital and space domain surveillance and polar command, as well as control integration, which means that any early warning systems regarding our enemies, which is right now the CCP and the UN and NATO, all of these capabilities would prevent anything from happening. Okay, so it's going to mark It's going to signal an early warning system in the event that, of course, what's left of the globalist try to, pull some sort of shenanigans. So, according to the present status of our Antarctica, of Greenland, is that it's fully operational and expanding as I speak. The U.S. with Space Force, and it is going to serve as the backbone of Arctic defense architecture. So, strategic objectives are U.S. Arctic Command Doctrine, which will include, and these are the objectives of the U.S. Arctic Command Doctrine: lock down northern maritime and subsurface corridors, deploy next generation advanced defense systems. And in a little bit, I'm going to go over some of these advanced, technologies that the alliance is going to be using as they use to take out Maduro. And it's also going to employ or deny any, you could say, Russian submarines access to the Atlantic approach vectors or Chinese submarines. And it's also going to prevent, of course, communist Chinese Arctic militarization, because the Chinese also want to militarize it, but according to this doctrine, they're not going to be allowed to do it. So in the long term, it is going to secure a resource dominance by Space Force. And right now, the current assessment is that Greenland is indispensable to all 5 objectives. Okay, so the strategic outlook is this: that the Arctic conflict is already underway, pre-kinetic, silent, and positional, and is now going to control a future global trade route, space domain supremacy through Space Force, and resources for the next 100 to 1,000 years as we go into the millennium in the positive timeline. So the final assessment of the acquirement of Greenland, which is already in progress, is that Greenland is no longer a peripheral terrain, okay? It will become a command center for Space Force. President Trump's strategy is not symbolic, neither it is diplomatic or aspirational. It is an operational reality that is leading in the dissolution of the old guard. So by the time the public awareness even catches up to what's happening, positioning will already be completed. End of briefing. Okay, so this next part that I want to share with you guys comes from breaking news. Caroline Leavitt, who is a White House spokeswoman, and what she did is she amplified claims about American Special Forces, super soldiers. Apparently, the super soldiers were involved. All right, that deployed advanced weaponry during the extraction phase of former Venezuela leader Nicolas Maduro. Well, Leavitt reposted an account from a Venezuelan security guard at Maduro's compound, describing what happened when Delta Forces operators descended from helicopters in pitch black conditions. According to this account was originally posted on X by California-based political activist Mike Nieder, who is seeking to recall left-wing Governor Gavin Newsom. I guess we all want him recalled, right? Anyhow, so on the day of the operation, according to this report, this is a surviving soldier. He says, "We didn't even hear anything coming. We were all on guard, but suddenly all of our radar systems and communication systems shut down without any explanation. The next thing that we saw was drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions." So this is apparently a viral story from a man that is claiming to have witnessed the U.S. operation to capture, the Venezuelan dictator, let's just call him that, states that the U.S. used sonic weapons during the mission to incapacitate opposing forces. So according to this report, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, shared the eyewitness interview on X, encouraging her followers to read the statement. The witness in the interview claims to be a guard who was serving at the Caracas military base where the U.S. captured Maduro. So this is what he said. He said, "We were on guard, but suddenly all of our radar systems shut down without any explanation. And the next thing we saw was drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions. And they also described that they watched about 20 US soldiers deploy out of roughly 8 helicopters over the base. And they were technologically very advanced, which means that they were super soldiers. And the guard said they didn't even look anything that we've ever fought before against. We were hundreds. This is according to the guard that survived the frequency blast, the sonic blast. He said we were hundreds. We had no chance. He said they were shooting with such precision and speed, approximately 300 bullets per second. Right? This is again advanced weaponry, and it felt like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. Now, the witness then described that the U.S. deploy also some sort of sonic weapon against the Venezuelan forces. So at one point, they launched something else, according to the survivor. He said, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was imploding inside of me. And he said, all of us started bleeding through our nose and our ears. It sounds to me like the U.S. military used what? Directed energy weapons. Think about it. And some were even vomiting blood as a result of this. We fell to the ground within seconds, unable to move. We couldn't even stand up. And after the sonic weapon or whatever it was, he says, those 20 men without a single casualty, which were the super soldiers, killed hundreds of us within a second. I mean, within 2 seconds. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. He said, I swear, I've never seen anything like this. And he did give a warning to Colombia, who is next on the list, and Brazil. And apparently the Mexican president had a conversation with Trump, and she's trying to work things out with Trump so that it doesn't happen to Mexico. But I think it's going to happen to Mexico anyways. But the whole point is this. After he gave that claim, the surviving military Venezuelan soldier, he said he's never seen anything like this before. And he actually shouted out a warning to the rest of the corrupt Latin American countries, including Mexico. He says, you guys have no clue how advanced the U.S. military is in technology. We are hundreds of years behind. They have the capacity to take any one of you out within seconds. He left the warning, all right, to the rest of the South American continent and the corruption that is, existing within those countries. Now, that is fascinating, guys, okay, because I was able to access another report from the Galactic Alliance regarding the advanced use of energy weapons, sonic frequencies to pretty much only target the enemy without any casualties. I mean, this is the way the Alliance is winning over the earth from the cabal. All right, let me continue here. So a little bit about this type of sonic advanced weaponry, okay? We all know that the development of advanced non-kinetic warfare tools is nothing new, right? Because what? This class of direct energy devices known as classified operations, sonic frequency weapons, ZFWs, have been around for decades within what? Within the private sector, all right? So these systems that are apparently now being deployed by the Alliance, thank God, primarily, these systems deployed primarily by the Interstellar Coalition during the Helios border conflicts. So what does that mean? Where apparently these systems were deployed by a secret space program known as Solar Warden, primarily by the Interstellar Coalition during the protection of Helios borders. Well, Helios is the name that they used to refer to as our sun. So apparently Solar Warden has been protecting our solar system with the usage of this advanced weaponry from negative aliens, okay? So that's what this means. So apparently it's been going on. It has existed for quite some time, but now they're using it against the cabal. So these systems have been around for decades, apparently, and have been deployed by breakaway groups, okay? So what's happening right now is that this phenomena, guys, that allows sound to disrupt motor control in the human nervous system without permanent injury, unless, of course, the frequency is amplified, then it leads to, immediate heart attack, is something that the alliance is going to use to purge the rest of the Latin, or what we call the South American and Central American continent, from the drug cartels. Okay. So this is fascinating. The core mechanism, guys, how this works, this sonic weaponry, the core mechanism behind what they call ZFWs lies in the generation of sonic waves, a term coined to describe subharmonic pulses that operate in the hybrid range between sonic audible and infrasonic subaudible frequencies. And unlike traditional sound waves, which merely vibrate air particles, sonic frequencies are face locked to the body's internal natural rhythms, which means, and they've always known this, and even the CIA has published papers regarding how every biological organism possesses a unique resonance profile. Okay. So, akin to a fingerprint, every human on the planet has a signature tone, a particular frequency, and it varies from everyone else's. Okay. So, it is very akin to the fingerprint, just to give you guys an example. And so, in order to be defined by the frequency at which nerve signals travel along the spinal cord, it has to be a match to your frequency. And this is the way in which the Alliance is able to use this technology without having any casualties. Okay, it only targets the baddies. So this CFW, as they call it, exploits this trait by emitting modulated pulses that temporarily desynchronize motor commands within the human body, creating a paralyzed effect and in some cases death. Okay, this is what we call directed energy attacks. Okay, so the device architecture is like this. It is a standard CFW unit that consists of three components. One of them is the quantum harmonic core, which is what they call the QHC, and that generates sonic pulses using supercooled crystalline arrays. The second component is the natural lock modulator, the NLM. That tunes the frequency pattern in order to match the target's bioelectric rhythm using adaptive sensors. In case in point, there will be no casualties. Okay. The third component is what they call the directional phase projector, DPP, and that emits the pulse in a focus cone, limiting environmental interference. Well, it turns out that these components work in concert to direct a narrow beam, a sonic energy, toward a target up to about 300 meters. And what this does is that this induces a full body muscular what's the best way to describe it? They are neutralized in inhibition. That's the word, inhibition, for a period of 15 to 90 seconds. In other words, their body within 2 seconds becomes paralyzed. Okay. Depending on, of course, on individual physiology and shielding, because again, everybody has a particular frequency, right? No one human has the same frequency as another human. And the CIA has always known that. Okay. So in field operations, guys, ZFWs, sonic frequency weapons, proved particularly effective in urban extractions. And this is where they are minimizing collateral damage, right? Also in hostage scenarios where conventional weapons pose excessive risk, and also planetary security enforcement, where terrain made kinetic weapons impractical. So the paralysis of death due to a sonic frequency blast depends on the amplification of the frequency, okay? That is caused by the CFW. Exposure is described as a full nervous system malfunction of the human body, wherein the subject remains conscious and aware, but physically immobilized. Well, in non-lethal operations, recovery occurs naturally once internal neural rhythms resynchronize if the frequency blast, of course, was not too intense. So, even though classified, even though this weapon is still classified, but again, now it is used by the Alliance, it's being used by the Alliance, the use of ZFWs sparked intense debate within the galactic tribunals. However, it was a proof for the Alliance to use the same weapons that once were used by the Cabal against the innocent people of the Earth in order to defeat the Cabal. That's fascinating. So, according to this report, by 2028, after the Earth's liberation, most ZFWs models will retire in favor of more advanced neurophotonic disruption rays, but their legacy will remain in the form of treaties, stories, and of course, the still classified sonic research logs of Station Epsilon 5, which is one of Earth's interplanetary command node. All right, well, let's continue here. Now, this next part of the report is regarding how the Alliance, with the help of Space Force and Solar Warden, and of course the help of the Galactics, is inevitable for them to liberate the Earth. Okay, they are in a position of inevitability. So this is what they refer to as the ending of the old empire. Okay, so we all know that for most of human history, power has concentrated by those who what? Who sought control of technology and knowledge in the hands of the few. Correct? Well, according to Alliance level briefings and supported by cosmic intelligent councils, humanity is now witnessing a transition from the hoarding of advanced technologies by the few into a responsible command in order to use these technologies for the betterment of humanity. That's fascinating, guys. So what that means is that the general public has been conditioned to believe that modern civilization has operated at the cutting edge of science, that today's military represents the peak of human capability, which is not true, right? When in reality, this perception is nearly 3 centuries behind. Let's just be real, about 600 to 900 years behind in technology, okay? And it has existed within classified and compartmentalized and privatized development programs since the 1950s, okay? Well, technically the 1940s, because it did originate with the Nazis. These programs, guys, often referred to as breakaway civilizations or secret space programs, emerged when industrial, financial, and scientific elites realized that revolutionary technologies cannot be released into a world that is still governed by scarcity-based control systems. Why do you think they're putting an end to the petrochemical companies? This is the end of the oil empire, okay? Well, instead, for over 80 years, these technologies apparently were hidden, patented in black projects, and of course deployed selectively to maintain regime stability, not to free humanity. Until now, the Earth Alliance is, and their off-world aligned factions, which is the Galactic Alliance, has spent decades reclaiming these technologies from those private control sectors in order to renationalize them at a planetary level. So what that means is that since these technologies or advanced technologies, 600, 700, 800 years ahead of the current of the general public, have been used by the elites of the old power structure, and they have always relied on what? On kinetic warfare, economic coercion, proxy conflicts, and energy scarcity. Well, according to this new doctrine that was finalized and signed by the Alliance, or crafted by the Earth Alliance, it operates this according to this new doctrine. Things are going to be operating like this now. Okay, there's going to be an electromagnetic dominance in the hands of the alliance for what is known as responsible usage, all right, in order to help the planet instead of dominate the planet. And by the way, according to some of the briefings, it was known that they used an electromagnetic pulse to take out the communication systems and signals and radios of course, the Venezuelan army before the sonic wave. Okay. Also, going back to this report, it is believed that according to the new doctrine that was crafted by the Earth Alliance, there will be non-kinetic, no more, or what they call, there will be a neutralization rather of non-kinetic energy. There's going to be a quantum level surveillance that is already in progress through Starlink, that is going to be connected to the QFS. And there's going to be a space-based system that will make conventional warfare obsolete. In other words, guys, we're going interstellar. Okay. Now, this is why regimes that were installed by the cabal are not just falling within a dramatic explosion, but instead they are collapsing internally. Why is that? Well, think about it. All of a sudden, overnight, as their power grids become dismantled and their command structures become deteriorated from within, okay? And their financial lifelines, which is the fiat system, the central banking systems, begin to collapse, and psychological leverage simply just stops functioning, okay? What this means is that the major powers already possess comparable exotic capabilities. Okay, so one of the reasons why we are not going into the Third World War is not because of what the mass media or alternative media has been telling us. The real reason why, guys, is because even though we lead in exotic technology development, okay, advanced interstellar alien technology, we lead that. Space Force has the lead on that. China and Russia are just behind us, okay? China and Russia have also developed advanced interplanetary technology. So that means that all three superpowers, let's just be real, those are the three superpowers. Europe isn't nothing, okay? All the other countries don't compare to the advanced technologies that these three superpowers have developed. It would be impossible to have another war, a third world war, okay? Because these types of advanced technologies immediately dismantle and neutralize any old warfare tactical schemes, such as nuclear bombs, nuclear weapons, missiles, all of that. It will completely neutralize all of that, okay? So that's the reason why there will be no third world war, okay? Because the three major superpowers, with Space Force leading the way, have already developed advanced alien technologies, okay? And the only reason the US is in the lead is because the Space Command, the fifth military branch, is acting as a, you could say, as a front to the already existing breakaway group, Positive Secret Space Program, known as Solar Warden. Okay, so it turns out that both Russia and China developed their own parallel black program projects during the Cold War, right? A lot of these advanced countries were in on the secret space program. So it turns out that they did create a lot of these, or developed a lot of these technologies through reverse engineering, just like we did, right? Off-ledger research cities, right? These are off-world colonies that were established by the different breakaway groups. And of course, the private sector alliance beyond public oversight. So this created an unspoken equilibrium. War in the traditional sense, like most people think, right? Intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear bombs, military, airplanes, stealth fighting technologies, whatever, is outdated, guys. Okay. So war in the traditional sense would be suicidal, obviously, not because of nuclear weapons, but because exotic systems can neutralize launch platforms before they even ignite. Okay. And also because command authority can be electronically and cognitively disrupted, and also because space based assets can disable entire theaters without a single explosion. So, the global conflict has been replaced by what the alliance refers to as a silent attrition, which is a chessboard where pieces are removed without the board ever being flipped, which is a smarter approach. Okay. So, the role of space based governance in all of this is this: the decisive shift occurred when these reclaimed technologies were formally funneled through a public facing institutional shell that we know as Space Force. Contrary to mainstream perception, guys, Space Force is not primarily about satellites or defense. It is about jurisdiction. And it is also about near Earth orbital space, electromagnetic domains, off world infrastructure, and legacy black budget assets previously owned by corporations, not nations. Okay. So, in other words, the ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, which is the negative secret space program, has fallen. And this is the reason why the operations began last week with Maduro. Okay. They were waiting for the cabal to be stripped from possessing these advanced technologies. Unfortunately, the CCP still has them, but we were able to take away these technologies from the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. All right, so this transfer represents the first time in modern history what is known as a planetary scale technology that is being removed from the private hands and placed under sovereign accountable command. However gradual, that process appears from the surface, and all of this is happening in order to dismantle a 2,000-year-old power structure whose roots began with the Vatican. We know it as the Cabal system, of course, which was, of course, rooted in ancient times with the Babylonian priest-king hierarchies, right? And then reorganizing under the Roman financial law, the feudal debt systems of Dark Age Middle Europe, and then modern central banking, right? It's a 2,000-year-old system, guys, which has always relied on three pillars: energy control, information suppression, and manufactured conflict. Well, these advanced exotic technologies are collapsing all of these three simultaneously. Free energy paradigms nullify resource leverage, for example. Quantum intelligence nullifies secrecy. Space based oversight nullifies territorial dominance. So, what once took centuries of war now takes months of quiet intervention. The next 6 months to a year, guys, the world will never be the same. It's going to be totally restructured in favor of the alliance. Leaders installed by the old systems, in this regard, Maduro, right, are rendered irrelevant. All right. So when this advanced space age technologies are deployed, as in the case of Maduro, there is nothing that these primitive militias can do. Okay. So from a cosmic standpoint, guys, this transition was never meant to be violent. And this explains why there will be no casualties. Okay. The innocent people of Venezuela did not suffer any casualties. Thank God, because they employed, this advanced technology. So, from a cosmic and galactic standpoint, because we are being overseen by the galactic tribunals, in other words, the alliance is being overseen and monitored by the galactic councils to make sure that they use these wisely, only to take down the cabal. Okay. So, from a cosmic standpoint, this transition was never meant to be violent. Okay. It's meant to be a deliberate and gradual overtake and purging of the old guard. It is being released it is us, the Earthlings, rather, being released from an outdated operating system. And so the same technologies that were once hoarded by these breakaway groups in order to escape Earth are now being repurposed to restore the Earth's sovereignty. not under a single empire, but under a cooperative planetary framework that is aligned with cosmic law. And this is the reason why disclosure feels slow, but believe me, guys, things are going to be speeding up this year. Okay. And this is why chaos appears to be localized. And also, this is why narratives collapse faster than governments do. So we are watching an ancient hierarchy dissolve, not with fire, but with obsolescence. Obsolescence. Okay, now, um, in this quiet dismantling of the old guard, guys, a different civilization is already coming online with a whole new system of operation that will uplift humanity. We call it the quantum financial system and the quantum freedom grid. Okay. So, this next part of the report comes from a Space Force Alliance transmissions, clearance, source node, Sol Earth Orbital Command, distribution to the Starseed Network, status declassified. Okay, so this is what the Space Alliance, which is the Earth Alliance, calls the Reclamation Directive. What is the Reclamation Directive? I'll explain. Well, Alliance operations do not remove regimes through invasion, at least not in this day and age. They remove the conditions that allow illegitimate regimes to function. And that's what's happening right now. Think about it. They needed to take over the oil in Venezuela because it was going to be bought by China, right? China and the Rockefellers were in the middle of a deal. So let me continue here. So advanced non-kinetic systems developed generations ahead of public science has been reclaimed for private breakaway control structures and placed under sovereign planetary stewardship. What this means is that the ICC, the interplanetary corporate conglomerate that was run by the Rothschilds, has fallen. Okay. These systems operate across electromagnetic, orbital, informational, and predictive domains. And once a command structure loses access to energy dominance, which is what's happening to the cabal right now, right? The fall of the ICC is the fall of the cabal, guys. So once a command structure, in this case, the cabal's command structure, loses access to all of the energy dominance, and that's what's happening right now, access to securing, signaling, to temporal coordination, and even off-world infrastructure, and they have lost access to all the 100 plus bases and colonies and stations that were established by these breakaway groups. They have lost access to all of that. And a lot of that has to do with, of course, the arrival of 3i Atlas a few months back. Okay. So when all of this happens, guys, the entire infrastructure begins to collapse inwardly. So it has been stated that the planet will not enter any war. There will be no the Third World War, okay? Because we are now on a steady timeline trajectory. So understanding this very clearly means that the global war has become obsolete because of the advanced technologies that Space Force is using. Okay? Major world powers that possess parallel advanced capabilities. I believe that, again, China is right behind us when it comes to this space age technology, and Russia. I think Russia is a little bit underneath China. China is second to Space Force. And this is why there is now a race for the colonization of space. And I believe that we are winning it over China, because I did mention a few weeks back that in this space age, in this space race, right, to see who gets to space first, China wants to militarize space, whereas Space Force wants to not militarize it, but make it a safe haven, not only for the Earthlings, but for other non-terrestrials who want to interact positively with us. Okay, so the formation of space-based command is marked by a turning point. Through the United States Space Force, the alliance aligned players that initiated the lawful transfer of near Earth and orbital assets from private, unaccountable ownership into sovereign command structures. This is describing the dismantling of the ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. And this was not the creation of a new military branch. This was the recovery of planetary authority. So, in other words, according to this report, the establishment of the Space Force, the US Space Force, was part of a planetary recovery, interplanetary recovery. So, what are we recovering? Well, we are recovering stations from orbit, okay? Legacy power networks that cannot be hid anymore or hoarded or even maneuvered, okay? Also, we are recovering signal dominance and domain areas that were once rendered coercive hierarchies non-viable. And as access was revoked to the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, the negative secret space program, the legacy regimes experienced sudden logistical paralysis. And I'm talking about the ICC, right? As access was revoked, thanks to 3i Atlas, the Jupiter Command, and Solar Warden, legacy regimes experienced this sudden logistical paralysis, leadership indecision, financial desynchronization, and internal fractures. So, to the public, this appears as confusion and reversal. To the alliance, it is a successful decoupling. Now, this transition was anticipated, okay, across multiple civilizations and cycles. Worlds reaching this threshold, becoming or advancing into a type 1 interplanetary civilization, which is what we are transitioning into. So, across multiple civilizations and cycles, worlds reaching this threshold that we are reaching have always faced a choice, either destruction or evolution. Okay? Earth has entered the non-violent convergence path. And so these technologies that were once used by these breakaway negative groups in order to escape accountability are now being repurposed to restore planetary coherence so that evolution occurs instead of destruction. My friends, the positive timeline is fully intact. We have nothing to worry about. So we are not going to be observing. The best way to describe it is this. We are not really observing the fall of nations, guys. We are observing the end of an operating system that had been conducted in secret for over 80 years. And what's going to be coming next is this. This is part of the reclamation here. Advanced systems will be normalized incrementally. Energy and information scarcity narratives will dissolve. Planetary governance will decentralize, right? It's going to be replaced by the 22 federated regions, each with its own infrastructure, right? And Earth will be re-entering a cooperative cosmic framework. And so disclosure will be uneven by design in order to maintain stability during the transition, in order to keep everything centered, and of course, allow this transition to take place without any massive disruptions. So this next part of the report comes from the Galactic Archive Record. Archive Record code name GA-Sol, which is Solar Sun -Earth 7722. Access level, multi-civilizational. Archivist, Interstellar Transition Council. Status, Liberation, and Ascension ready. That's the status of the Earth, according to the Galactic Report, okay? Subject, Earth entry into interstellar councils and the commons of worlds, the Commonwealth of Worlds. That's fascinating. So yes, they are preparing the Earth to enter into the Commonwealth of Worlds. So this record document coming from the Galactic Archives, you guys are going to love this. This record document, which is the second phase of the Earth's post-containment transition, eligibility, preparation, and conditional admission into interstellar society. Membership in interstellar governance structure is not granted by technology advancements alone. Many worlds possess advanced tools and remain unfit for interstellar participation. Earth's admission process was triggered not by invention, but by restraint. The avoidance of planetary scale war while dismantling a legacy control system marked Earth as a civilization capable of self regulation beyond violence. Interstellar councils are not empires, also, nor are they centralized authorities. They exist in order to prevent the spread of containment architectures, in order to monitor emerging civilizations at threshold points, like we are now in, and also in order to coordinate non interference ethics and to arbitrate disputes involving shared space, time, or even biospheres. Membership does not imply surrender of sovereignty, it implies accountability beyond the planetary scale. So, Earth was previously classified under restricted observation due to the unresolved internal domination hierarchies, weaponization of scarcity, unresolved planetary trauma cycles, exploitation of consciousness as a resource. During this period, the Earth could be observed but not consulted. Its representatives were non sovereign proxies, financial, military, or religious constructs that did not reflect the planetary will. This disqualified the Earth from council participation for multiple cycles. Well, the qualification event was just signed by the Jupiter Command, ending the Jupiter Accords in the last few months. And that is that the Earth's eligibility was reevaluated following three convergent markers. Okay. And this is the reason why the Earth has now been approved to become part of the interstellar community. The first marker that approved the Earth in the interstellar community was the dismantling of entrenched regimes, which is already, it has been in progress. All right. We're over 90% done. Without global war, demonstrating maturity beyond conquest-based governance. The second reason was the reclamation of planetary jurisdiction through Space Force. Thank God. So that means that control of near orbital space, electromagnetic domains, and legacy black infrastructures shifted from private control to sovereign stewardship. The third reclamation, or the third, as they called, qualification, is what they call the collective awakening threshold. They have known, they have observed that there is a critical mass of population, demonstrated autonomous pattern recognition, questioning inherited narratives. In other words, they see that the Great Awakening is happening without centralized instruction. So, this combination is rare, guys. This is the reason why the Earth has been approved, okay? Most civilizations always fail at least in one of these, traits or stages. But apparently, we passed all three, okay? So, Earth was granted probationary observer participant status. This is according to the Galactic Report. And this status is going to allow our presence in non-binding council sessions, right? We're going to be part of our local star cluster association of worlds. How exciting is that, right? For those of you that have taken our cosmic origin course, we're going to be joining the United Federation of Planets, aka the Association of Worlds. All right, so this also means that we're going to have access to limited interstellar historical archives, while we are under a probationary period or status, as they call it. We're also going to be have access, not access, but we're also going to be having advisory input on planetary scale ethics, and we're also going to have supervised contact protocols. Okay, so restrictions remain, no weapons exchange, okay? And this is something that the positive ETs were trying to get Eisenhower to do, right? When Commander Valiant Thor and the Galactic Federation of Worlds met with Eisenhower, they told him the only way we could share our technology with you and help you become part of our space age culture is if you dismantle all your weapons. Well, of course, the US couldn't because that would require for every other country to do so, and they wouldn't. Okay. So, this also includes no unrestricted interstellar migration. So, everything's going to be monitored to make sure that even as we use Space Force to travel into other solar systems, that we don't conquer, underdeveloped planets that are still in their primitive stage, right? So we're going to be monitored to make sure that we don't exploit other worlds and other resources. Okay. So these safeguards will protect not only the Earth as she gets ready to become part of a type 1 civilization, but it's also going to be protecting neighborhood or neighboring solar systems. I want to call them neighborhood star systems since we're going galactic. So the role of star seeds comes as this. This is part of the galactic briefing. The role of star seeds. Archival data confirms that the Earth's transition was stabilized by the incarnated consciousness lineages that originated from multiple interstellar cultures. So apparently, they want me to share that all the star seeds played a huge role in the Earth's ascension process or Earth's liberation. Okay. And their role was never to govern. Apparently, we don't govern, right? It was to what? To serve as anchor points during disclosure turbulence, frequency anchor points to be exact. We also have served as cultural interpreters between planetary and interstellar norms, right? I'm not the only galactic ambassador. There are tons of galactic ambassadors. Also, we are serving as early adopters of post-scarcity ethics and safeguards against re-centralization. We don't want centralization anymore. So without the starseed lineages that incarnated on the Earth, Earth's mission would have been delayed for several more centuries. Wow. That's would have not been good. It's a good thing that the star seeds came in since the 1940s, 50s. All right, let's continue. So, according to the Galactic Assessment of Humanity, the Council's consensus of humans is as follows: strengths, exceptional adaptability, high emotional bandwidth, creative problem solving under pressure, rapid integration once coherence is achieved, and the risks are residual domination impulses, trauma based identity structures, over identification with technology, and mythologizing authority figures. That's still the risk, okay? The conclusion is this: that humanity is neither primitive nor enlightened yet. Of course, they're talking about the earth-based Terrans, not the star seeds. We are the advanced souls. We are masters that have returned, right? But they're speaking in terms of the majority of humans, the Terrans, okay? The younger souls. So humanity is neither primitive nor enlightened. It is in a mid-transition, okay? Now they're referring to the primitive, not primitive, but the Terrans, not the star seeds. So what membership will mean for the Earth is this: full council participation will not arrive as revelation or spectacle. It will manifest as normalized off-world awareness, cooperative planetary problem solving, disappearance of enforced scarcity, and gradual redefinition of human identity as planetary, not national. So Earth will not be ruled, Earth will be reorganized. And the long-term trajectory is this: if probationary benchmarks are met, and I believe they are, because the star seeds are going to be the mentors of the Earth Terrans in the new Earth. All right. So if probationary benchmarks are met, Earth will enter the greater galactic commonwealth of nations. In other words, we're going to advance from a type 1 civilization into a type 2 interstellar. Okay. And Earth will be able to host interstellar mediation hubs across the entire galaxy. Okay. And we will be able to contribute cultural, biological, and even philosophical diversity. Okay. So, and we're going to also serve as a reference case for nonviolent transition models. Earth's history of fracture uniquely qualifies it to assist other worlds that are also emerging from containment, from being quarantined due to their fallen nature, right? So the future seems bright for us, guys. Okay. According to the archival conclusion, Earth does not join interstellar councils as conquerors, saviors, or subordinates. No, no, no. It joins them as a civilization that survived itself. The councils do not ask whether Earth is ready to meet the galaxy. They ask whether Earth is ready to be seen. And I guess that's the end of the archive. Yeah, that's the end of the archive. The first interstellar protocol. So this is coming from archive GA-Soul-Earth-7723, known as the first interstellar protocol with humanity. The first interstellar protocol with humanity. Well, I am excited, guys. I am so pumped up and just ready to go. I don't know about you guys. We have intensifying CMEs that are coming, and we have amazing progress within the Earth Alliance. So, yeah, this year is going to change everything according to the report. That is fascinating news. I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. I do want to remind you guys that I do have a new set of courses coming up in 2 weeks. Our Cosmic Origin, my groundbreaking class, and of course, 3 types of ascension level courses, all available through my website, our cosmicorigin.com. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I decided to slow my roll because I do have a tendency of speaking really fast. And it's very hard for you guys to digest all the information when I'm speaking really fast. So one of my New Year's resolution is to actually speak a little slower so that you guys could understand and digest what I'm trying to say. All right, so now it's about that time to take Q&A. I appreciate your patience. And I also want to welcome all my new subscribers. I am Ismael Perez, Cosmic Ambassador, author of 2 amazing books, The Secret Government, and of course, Our Cosmic Origin, both which are available on Amazon. All right, let's get into the Q&A. Make sure you guys type your questions in capital letters. Quick shout outs. William Ryan. Lee Starr is in the house. Melissa Harper. Patricia. As well as Roy's Toys and Comics. Sherry Shoon. MJF. William Ryan. Now let's see if I could find somebody new, somebody that I've never called before. Rodney of the Light. Welcome, welcome. I do appreciate the super chats. Thank you so much, Jody Aurora, for your super chat. Hi, Ishmael. I purchased our Cosmic Origin. I can't wait to read it. Thank you. You are so welcome. You're going to love that book. That book is just, it's so cosmic. That's all I'm going to say. After the solar flash in the 4th dimension, will we stay in our homes and be able to drive cars? How much will it change? In the 4th dimension, yes. Except I think the homes are going to be a little bit more sophisticated. But yeah, you're definitely going to be able to stay in your home. And your cars are not going to be using petroleum anymore. We're going to switch from petrochemicals to free energy. Good question. Now, if you want your question answered, make sure you super chat me. Otherwise, I'm just going to be picking random questions. And I do want to welcome all 2,900 people that are in the house. Thank you guys so much for being here. Will medbits be announced? Yes. Yeah, they're going to be rolling out all of these amazing technologies as soon as they are 100% done with the cabal. Once the cabal is completely eliminated from the planet, let's just say it that way, that's when all of these amazing techs will be rolled out. I do want to thank Canadian Moose for his super chat. He says, will the solar flash trigger the EBS? That is a very good question. I think they could happen around the same time, or one prior to the other. Who knows? And what about North Korea? No one talks about that country. Thank you for all you do. You're a great teacher. You're welcome, brother. Well, North Korea is also controlled by a dark element. It is believed that the dictatorship in North Korea is also run by the cabal. So I think that once the cabal is fully dismantled, so will the corrupt governments in North Korea and, of course, Australia. Australia is on the list, by the way, and Canada. Oh, I also wanted to share a bit of intel or a report coming from the Epoch Times. Apparently, due to the advanced technologies that were employed in the takedown of Maduro's army, the warning has been sent to the rest of the mafias, the Colombian mafia, the Mexican mafia, the Brazilian mafia. And now, according to the Epoch Times, it is said that um, Mexico's president has apparently sat with Trump. Her name is, let's see if I could read this to you guys. So she's like jumping on board. She goes like, don't take me out. I will cooperate. You guys have the technologies that we can't even counteract. Okay. So this is what she said. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on January 12th that she had a productive dialogue with US President Donald Trump on efforts to combat drug trafficking and other issues of mutual concerns. We discussed various topics, including security with respect for our sovereignty, reducing drug trafficking, trade, and investment. Collaboration and cooperation within a framework of mutual respect always yields results. This conversation between the two heads of states comes as Trump has raised pressure on Mexico and other Latin America states to increase cooperation with the U.S., particularly in the efforts to eliminate the drug trafficking cartels. After U.S. forces captured Venezuela leader Nicolas Maduro in a pre-dawn raid on January the 3rd, Trump said that Mexico needs to get its act together when dealing with drug cartels and reiterated offers to send U.S. forces to assist in such efforts. I believe that if Claudia, the president of Mexico, is wise, she will comply with Trump. And again, that will lead to the merging of Mexico as a state of the super federated structure. I think it's going to go very smoothly for the Mexican government because if they comply, guys, that means that they're going to only eliminate the corruption, which is run by the Mexican mafia, right? Which means that a lot of the political heads of the Mexican government will have to step down and allow new members that are aligned with the White Hats to step in. So this is great news. This is great news. All right, I just wanted to share that with you guys because they know that we have advanced alien technology. They know not to mess with us, and they know that it is time to bring down the old and bring in the new, right? Okay, so I do want to welcome or thank Susan K for her donation. Thank you so much, sister. And also Edward Wusick for your donation. Thank you so much. All right. I do have another super chat from Danny. Thank you so much, Danny. Hello, Ishmael. I have not figured out how or why I found you. Well, that's a good thing. I think the universe led you to me. Welcome to the tribe, brother. All right. Next question. LCD001. Thank you so much, sister, for your super chat. Will we still be able to enjoy and celebrate our ethnic diversities? Absolutely, guys. We're going to be a biodiverse interplanetary culture when we become part of the 22 federated regions. So, yes, absolutely. Well, if you think about it, right, Earth's going to be under probation for the first, 50 to 100 years as we go off and colonize other worlds and systems. So, if we are to respect other cultures, alien cultures from other solar systems, of course we have to respect our cultures here. Okay. So, yeah, the answer to that is yes. Ashley Gold 444. Thank you for your super chat. Would you consider collaboration with Lily Nova? She spoke of the super soldier message yesterday. Um, uh, Anything would be possible, and yes, I do know her personally, so that wouldn't be a bad idea. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Suzuka 22, for your super chat. She says, yes, Ishmael, I am part of the first wave. I don't have special powers or identity with the other waves, but I know without a doubt that I've been a silent anchor, unwilling to change into something else. Good for you, sister. You've always maintained your authenticity. I'm proud of you, like most of you here. Thank you for staying authentic, by the way, guys. So many different layers of things happening on Earth. When the solar flash happens, will it just wipe out all the old 3D life? If so, then why all the worry about 22 regions? Good question. So, the way I see it is that the solar flash is going to knock out the AI grid. Okay, the anything that has to do with the technocratic dystopia, in order to usher in the positive Earth timeline, there has to be an EMP blast that will knock out the AI signal, which is the Antichrist. So when so the solar flash is actually what's going to cause the bifurcation of worlds, the splitting of timelines, from what I've heard. Good question, though. What kind of sonic weapon was used in Venezuela? This is a question from Charlie. Well, Charlie, I broke it down earlier in the presentation. So if you watch this from the beginning, I actually go into detail regarding the sonic weapon that they used in Venezuela. So make sure you watch this from the beginning. And that goes to all of those that came in late. Make sure you guys watch this presentation from the beginning. It is a great detailed explanation of how even these sonic weapons are used and what they do to the human body. What about Nibiru, as it has it as it has a 3600 year orbit? And is it now due? Yes, it is now due, but bear in mind that Nibiru has been restored by the Syrian High Council. See, originally Nibiru, for those that have taken my course or Cosmic Origin, it was initially developed by the Galactic Alliance, but then later, through processes of infiltration, certain groups of the Nibirians, the Anunnaki, were, of course, aligned with the Orion Draco Empire. But if you want to know the history of Nibiru, I would take my class, our Cosmic Origin. Guys, my classes are only $100. You can't get any cheaper than that. Some of my Ascension courses could go for $600 to $1,000, but I like to keep it cheap because to me it's about uplifting humanity. Okay, instead of making large amounts of money, I don't care about that. I just want you guys to afford it so that you guys could get the information. And I do need to make a living. So, it works for both of us. So go to my website or cosmicorigin.com because classes begin in 2 weeks. Free energy. Do you mean electricity or hydrogen? Hydrogen, perhaps, but not electricity. I'm talking about, well, electricity that is being harnessed from the zero point energy device or planetary power, zero point field. That's what I mean by free energy, which is way beyond Edison. Thank you so much for your super chat, Divine Mage. I appreciate that, brother. So many questions. Um, um, I'm going to just answer the super chats as they are coming in. Thank you so much, Deborah Nodelman. Thank you, Deborah, for being here and for your super chat. She says, we are constantly reminded that we are watching a movie and all of this is already done. That is true. So, isn't the war really over? Absolutely. In favor of the light. I agree. Time for all reveals, including the galactics in the first quarter. Yes, I agree with you, my sister. This is a movie. This is the final. It's almost like we're witnessing or watching a final chapter of an ancient book. But yeah, the war has already been won, and even more so, guys, because all time is happening all the time. Study superposition, right? The war in the future against Omega has already been won by us. So the organic positive timeline is victorious. I don't even know which question to answer. There's so many of them. Um, John, thank you so much for your super chat. He says, thanks, Ishmael. How is the Alliance going to deal with the CCP? Good question. Since they are right behind the Alliance in technology, when we go to 4th, aren't they going to be to create a problem with us? Remember, guys, the negative people of the Earth, which is run by the CCP, is not going to make the transition into the new Earth. So, by virtue of the solar EMP, the entire CCP will be collapsed. So, we don't have to worry about the CCP in the positive Earth timeline. And yes, unfortunately, right now, they are right behind the Alliance when it comes to space age technology. But we are still ahead. The Alliance is still ahead. And Russia, which is also part of the Alliance, okay, has also developed advanced weaponries. Now, I'm going to share this with you guys. The only reason Putin 2.0, who was replaced, who replaced the original Putin, I'm sorry, who replaced the original Putin, the only reason Putin was given this technology is because he agreed to align himself with the New Earth Council. The Russian Federation is going to be just like the North American Federation. It's going to be very cooperating with the other federations. It's going to be decentralized, and it's going to use the technology for the betterment of the people. So that is good. Okay. That is the only reason why Putin was given the advanced technology, because this is Putin 2.0. Remember, the original Putin was Cabal, right? And he was taken out and replaced by Putin 2.0. So this guy's a good guy. Thank you, Karen Hess, for your super chat. Now I'm just taking random questions. This is a question from Greg. What culture are the Celestials from? Italian, Spanish, or German? My friend, the Celestials are incarnated as advanced star seeds in all the different cultures on Earth, not just European, to answer your question. Are you saying no more worrying about the AI timeline because it ended? No, right now it's still currently existing with a positive timeline. But due to this timeline convergence, right, there are multiple Earth realities happening all at the same time. And due to this timeline convergence, they're all going to collapse into three: a negative, where the AI timeline will continue, but not in our reality, a positive ascending organic timeline, and a neutral timeline, in between timeline. Again, if you're new to my channel, I would watch most of my presentations going back months, because I break down the different timelines, the convergence, the 1,000 years of peace on the positive timeline, the 1,000 years of technocratic AI rule on the negative timeline, and how at the end of the 1,000 years, there's one final clash between those two, ushering in a whole new era in the cosmos. So for all my new subscribers, watch as many presentations going back months. It'll answer a lot of your questions. Yes, thank you for reminding us. Melissa Harper says prayers for the children, for their innocence, and prayers for cosmic justice. Can you guys believe they took down my meditation that I did 2 weeks ago when we were praying collectively for the children and for cosmic justice? 2 days after that, they took down that presentation or that video. Can you speak on the Orifin? Now I'm just taking random questions, whatever comes up. This is a question from Eleanor Rose. Well, the original Orifin were the angelic humans that were created 560 million years ago. That was the original humans, our real ancestors, with a 12-strand DNA potential. So they were known as the Orifim. They were part physical angels, or part celestial, part physical human angel, with the potential of 12-strand DNA. According to the Emerald Records, they are known as the 12-strand Terranusian race. And that was the original human, by the way, made in the image of God. So we are returning back to becoming Orifim, which is what? Homo luminous, as we become restored. Oh, this is a good one. Again, I'm just taking random questions now. Ishmael, someone else asked this earlier. Do identical twins have the same resonance vibration? No. Even identical twins have their own energy frequency or signature. Every human, just like every human has their own thumb imprint or finger imprint, so does every human have their own energy signature. Okay, guys? Good question, though. Yes, Trump only used 20 troops, and they were super soldiers, using advanced weapons that were firing 300 bullets per second. That's crazy, guys. Yeah, according to the report that I gave today, um, yeah, they used super soldiers for the takedown of Maduro's army. Only 20 of them, actually. And they took out hundreds thanks to that sonic boom or that sonic weapon. I do have another super chat from Pat Peterson. Thank you so much, brother. Hi, Ishmael. A lot of prophets speak of 7 years of peace. What happens afterwards, 7 years? I've never heard of 7 years of peace. I've heard of 1,000 years of peace. I think every ancient records, and by the way, even the Bible draws from even prior records that existed during Atlantean times. But they all talk about how at the end of the cycle, uh, a new world golden age would arise that would last for 1,000 years. And then after the clash with the dark side, once again after 1,000 years, it would then be remaining as a permanent golden age for all life and all eternity. So this is it. This is the final cycle. Earth will no longer be entering a dark age again, according to the original prophecies. Good question, though. Yes, super soldiers are human.